Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Nathan and today I'm going to be discussing elite wild prospect Kirill Kaprizov and him potentially being the best hockey player outside of the NHL. Now in my personal opinion, I think Kirill Kaprizov is the best prospect right now in the NHL. I made my top 10 prospects video a few days back. I had Kirill Kaprizov number 1 and I realized making that video that I never have made a dedicated video about Kirill Kaprizov yet, and that will change here today. So, with Kirill Kaprizov, how good is he really? Is he the best hockey player outside of the NHL? And is he the Minnesota Wild's next savior? Watch till the end for all my analysis and opinions, and of course, subscribe if you're new. Now, as a Dallas Stars fan, I don't like the Minnesota Wild all that much, but if there's one player that I'm rooting for to have a ton of success for the Wild, it is Kirill Kaprizov. The 22-year-old right winger so far has had a dominant KHL campaign, once again topping his totals after last season. Again, he's a 22-year-old Russian winger. Obviously, the offense is there, but in my opinion, the guy has been so dominant in the KHL for so long that the NHL is obviously the next step. Now, Kirill Kaprizov, throughout his stint in the KHL, has been dominant. Back in his 19-year-old season, he was able to get 27 points in 53 games, then improved to 42 points in 49 games the next year, then 40 in 46 games, 51 in 57 games last year, and this year has been over the 1 point per game mark so far in 44 games, getting 23 goals, 22 assists for 45 points. Now, Kaprizov, as it stands right now, is third in KHL scoring. Again, 44 games played and 45 points, behind Dmitry Yashkin and Vadim Shipashov in KHL scoring. But Kaprizov has also played like 4 less games than both of them, so it likely will get back to a more even playing field. But when it comes to Kaprizov, ever since his rookie year in the KHL, he's been pretty great. I mean, he got 8 points in his draft year in his KHL, which is super impressive, and somehow slid to the 5th round. He's been amazing in the KHL, he's been amazing in international tournaments, and he's done everything what you'd ask him to do. Right now, making the Minnesota Wild look pretty smart. Now, to get a good idea of how good Kaprizov has been and how dominant he's been, the only real comparable I can put up right now is Artemi Panarin, which is fantastic company for Kaprizov to be in. When it comes to Panarin, when he was 22 years old in the KHL, he was able to get 40 points, 20 goals, 20 assists in 51 games. And the next year, obviously, he would explode, getting over a point per game, 62 points in 54 games, and will be a point per game in 20 KHL playoff games, which is insane. I don't know if Kaprizov, if he were to play next year, would be as good as that last year in the KHL for Panarin, but the career stats are very similar and the situations are similar too. To me, Artemi Panarin is a guy who was a late bloomer, obviously going in the NHL age 24 and winning the Calder Trophy, but I think Kirill Kaprizov can have that same impact, if not more. Now, I'm not saying that Kaprizov is going to be better than Panarin, because there's only really a few players that are better than Panarin right now in the NHL, but Kaprizov is a guy who I think can become an elite Russian winger and the best player on the Minnesota Wild. Again, looking at his stats, when you compare the 22 years old campaign of Kaprizov to the 22-year-old campaign of Panarin, Kaprizov so far has been better, and that's just a plain fact when you look at the score sheet. It's looking like right now the most likely possibility is that Kaprizov signs after this season and goes to the Minnesota Wild next season, and by that time he'll still be Calder eligible, and I think unless Alexis Lafreniere comes in and dominates, Kirill Kaprizov might just be the biggest contender for that and the most likely guy to get it. And I know there's going to be some people out there saying, oh, Nikita Gusev was so great in the KHL, look how he's doing now. And I gotta say a few things about that first. One, Nikita Gusev is 27 years old. Okay, there's a little bit of a difference. Just a little bit there. Just a tiny bit. And also, Nikita Gusev has been brilliant since Taylor Hall left. He has been awesome for the New Jersey Devils and is finally looking like the guy that a lot of people envisioned. I think there is some transitioning to be there for Kaprizov. But initially, when I was talking about Elias Pettersson a couple years back, I thought that he was going to have some trouble transitioning to the NHL, coming off the European ice and not having the greatest experience in his rookie year. That ended up being wrong. Elias Pettersson ended up winning the Calder Trophy, and the rest is history. To me, it's much different situations between him and Gusev, and I think Kaprizov will have it pretty smoothly. The only problem I see is that he'll be on the Minnesota Wild. They don't exactly have the biggest firepower offensively, but to me, Minnesota might just have their first superstar in their entire franchise history, and to me, Kaprizov can be that guy for them. But with the way the Calder Trophy races have been in the last few years, it's usually dependent on which player gets the most ice time, gets the most dependability, and gets the most responsibility. I mean, this year we're seeing Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes, two guys that are leading their own respective defenses, getting all the ice time and getting all the points, obviously putting themselves in the best position to succeed. When it comes to Kaprizov, that's a guy on Minnesota I think will have a ton of ice time to choose from. Yes, Minnesota is not a bad team, but they're not an offensive team. They don't think goals first, and a lot of those players are not set to play offense. You look at guys like Mikko Koivu, for instance, their freaking captain. To me, Kaprizov is such a different player from the Minnesota Wild that they've never really had. I mean, if he can have an Artemi Panarin-like impact for them, that's a guy that will change their franchise for the better. And when it comes to drafted NHL prospects, not talking about Alexi Lafreniere, Quinton Byfield, or anything, there is no other prospect right now that I think is better than Kaprizov, and no prospect that I think will be more exciting next year than Kaprizov. He's a guy that, again, I think will change that Minnesota culture for the better, will make it a more exciting and actual knowledgeable franchise. There's a lot of people out there, even as a Stars fan, I do kind of been guilty of this, that I kind of forget that the Minnesota Wild are a thing. In the state of hockey, that's not exactly the thing you want to go for. But having a true superstar like Kirill Kaprizov is a guy that I think can bring so much to that team that they've drastically needed for a long time. To me, Kaprizov is the next elite player in the NHL and the next elite Russian winger at the same time with Artemi Panarin. And to me, when you factor in the AHL, the KHL, the SHL, there might be better overall players than Kaprizov right now that are outside the NHL. But to me, when you factor in the skill, again, the potential that Kaprizov brings to not just be a first liner, but to be potentially a top 5 scorer in the NHL, that's a player that nobody can touch potential-wise and nobody can touch skill-wise. He's a guy that I think will take a little bit of time to transition, but once he's there and once he gets with the right line mates in Minnesota, is a guy that I think will go off in his rookie year and become one of these super studs for Team Russia going forward. For Minnesota, it's a player that they need now, but will come next season. But honestly, as a guy who likes hockey, I just want to see Kaprizov in the NHL. That's all that matters right now. But of course, with this video, I need to hear y'all's thoughts down in those comments down below. Let me know what you think about Kirill Kaprizov and your expectations for him. How do you think he'll do with the Minnesota Wild? Are you kind of low on him, high on him? And how good do you think Kirill Kaprizov will be next season? But if y'all want some more Grav videos just like this one, y'all should click on this card right here to watch all of my NHL prospect content right in one place. There's so many videos in this thing, bro. Get like a mega jug of popcorn because you're gonna need it. It's gonna be a big binge, man. Like, forget all the Netflix stuff. That's where to go. But that'll be it for today, guys. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Again, comment down below your thoughts on Kirill Kaprizov. Let me know what you think about him and how good you think he will be as well. Share this video with your friends. Get on the Kirill Kaprizov hype train and get your friends on the hype train as well because it's going. Let's do it, baby. My name is Dave, and I'll see you on the next video or stream. Goodbye.